I rise like the sun sometimes, but then I fall. Like a black moon I rise when the night falls. When the night falls, the mic calls, so listen, it's the ultraviolet rays that keep me rising on the mission. I rise like the sun sometimes, but then I fall. Like a black moon I rise when the night calls. When the night falls, the mic calls, so listen, it's the ultraviolet rays that keep me rising on the mission.
The king of the north! I'll have peace on those terms. The king in the north. My sword is yours, in victory and defeat, from this day until my last day. The king in the north!
What up, hype beast? You already know who it is. It's your boy back with another video. So today we gonna do this NBA predictions and preview for the NBA Finals, man. So before we get into that, let's talk about the loser, right? The Milwaukee Bucks. Now, this is a team that I really favored to win it all this year. I thought they had the firepower. I thought they had the defense. I thought they had the, superstar power in Giannis to possibly defeat the Warriors in a 7-game series. Now, we're not going to even get that series because that same superstar power was not strong enough to defeat Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors. Now, with the Bucks, man, Giannis just got to get better, man. Giannis Antetokounmpo has to get a lot better. We saw what happened when you clogged the paint on him. He really was pretty useless on offense for a lot of this series. As soon as they put Kawhi Leonard on him to start off the possession, and then they crowd the lane so that he doesn't have a lane to the basket or whatever, it looked bad. He looked bad out there. He looked like a common player out there in the series. And that's something that could really never happen to Giannis. The closest thing I could think of is 2007, when LeBron played against the Spurs. And even then, LeBron didn't look this bad. He was just missing like mid-range shots or whatever. At least he was taking them. You know what I mean? It wasn't this bad. Giannis looked like an average player out there a lot of times in the series. Now, on defense, he still played well. He still, played hard and stuff like that. But you can't be that limited. Either he has to do one of two things. Milwaukee either has to package up Eric Bledsoe and Malcolm Brogdon and possibly somebody else to try to get like a really good point guard or something, or try to sign Kemba Walker, something like that. Somebody who could take over in those moments for Giannis, so that he's not just out there trying to make everything himself and, being limited out there. Or Giannis has to get in the gym and get a lot better. That shot, even though he had that little set shot going during the year, he has to get a lot more confident, and he has to be able to do more offensively in the half-court set than he's able to do in crunch time in the playoffs. He has to be able to do more. Now, that's not a knock at Giannis, but I was actually surprised that it was that bad at this point because he had such a great season. But anyway, the Bucks had a good season. I thought it would end in the finals run and possibly a win, but it didn't. It ended in the Eastern Conference Finals versus a greater player in Kawhi Leonard. Now, I give Toronto a very good chance to win this championship, to be honest. They have a couple of advantages that I don't think people are giving them credit for. Now, their bench didn't play good early in the series, but towards the end of the series, the bench started to come forth. Van Vliet, Norman Powell, these guys really start to come alive towards the end of the series, as they really should. Norman Powell had some games, I think game 4, game 3, where he hit, some threes. He was very aggressive or whatever, and that was very important for them and helping them get over the hump with Milwaukee, who had an early advantage in the series. So to that, I think Toronto has a big check mark when it comes to bench production. I think when it comes to bigs, in the last series, we saw, Kevon Looney and, Golden State's bigs give the Portland Trailblazers some problems, and for that matter, the Houston Rockets some problems. Clint Capella got outplayed by Kevon Looney. I think Kevon Looney is going to have his hands full with Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. I don't think there's much he can do with them. And then Marc Gasol for the Raptors has been so good. He's really starting to come alive for them. Offensively, it's not necessarily that evident in the box scores, but the way he passes the ball and the way he kind of is a controller, somebody who kind of controls the flow of the offense a little bit. It's very subtle, but he's somebody who kind of controls the offense. It kind of gives people cues to go and things of that nature. It's gonna be tough for the Golden State bigs to really compete against the Raptors bigs and the Raptors bench. Okay, so those are two pretty good advantages for the Raptors. Now, Golden State is obviously gonna have a big advantage when it comes to guard play. Steph Curry's playing out of this world, and then his running buddy Klay Thompson is his usual self, which is a dominant three-point shooter. They're going to be going against Kyle Lowry and Danny Green. And Danny Green is, of all the positives that Toronto has going on, Danny Green is probably the biggest negative. And he's really costing himself money because I believe he's a free agent this year at the end of the season. And he is slumping at the worst possible time. He can't hit anything. And he's getting a lot of wide open opportunities. It's actually pretty sad to watch. But at the end of the day, he's still a good defender. He's not somebody who can make plays off the dribble, even though he's trying to get better at that. But, he's going to obviously be badly outplayed by Klay. Now, Kyle Lowry and Steph Curry, that's going to be an interesting matchup. They probably will even see each other, no. I'm sure Steph Curry will be resting on Danny Green this whole series. But Steph and Kyle Lowry has the potential to try to somewhat match Steph Curry's production. I don't think he'll be successful at it. He has played the Warriors in the regular season just fine, but for some reason I'm very skeptical about his finals performances. Are the pressures of the NBA finals going to be too much for him? We saw how LeBron just walking into the arena used to really shake him, So what's going to happen when you see Steph Curry and Kevin Durant across from you on the court? Are you going to step it up to play against these guys, or are you going to shrink under the pressure? So that's going to be interesting for him to see how he deals with that. We'll see. We'll ultimately see. If Kyle Lowry comes to play, then I think that's great for Toronto because they have somebody who can at least try to approximate like 80% of Steph Curry's production. So we'll see. We will see. And it also, gives somebody to give Klay Thompson, some work on the defensive end. So that leaves us with Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant's going to be out for the first couple games of this series. I think maybe he comes back game 3, game 4. Toronto does have the home court, so probably when they go back to Oakland is when Kevin Durant will make his return. That does help the Raptors out because, they don't have that big matchup problem. But even when Kevin Durant comes out, the people who are going to see him the most are Pascal Siakam. He's going to see him a lot. And Pascal Siakam has a lot of length. He's tall. He's like 6'9", 6'10". Very long guy, long arms or whatever. He's somebody who I believe can, try to give Kevin Durant, something to look at. It's not shooting over a chair like how Kevin Durant does with the vast majority of the NBA. Now, he can't guard him. We saw Kevin Durant give him and Kawhi Leonard 51 points in the regular season. So he can't guard him, but at least he has to see him. It's somebody he has to shoot over. It's not shooting over a lawn chair. We're gonna see Kawhi Leonard take his shots at him. That's gonna be interesting. I don't think Kawhi Leonard will see him a lot during the course of the game. I think it will mostly be in the fourth quarters when we see Kawhi Leonard switched over to him. Kawhi Leonard can bother his dribble, can bother his movements. I still don't know that he can bother his shot. He can try to face guard him or whatever, but Kawhi Leonard isn't tall enough, is not long enough to really give Kevin Durant any real trouble on a jump shot. OG Anunoby, I don't know when he's coming back. I think he's out for the season. That's unfortunate. He was going to be another defender to throw at him. But once again, OG Anunoby was not going to do anything with Kevin Durant either. Kevin Durant's just too big for all these guys. I also think they're gonna try looks with Serge Ibaka versus Kevin Durant. Now, Serge Ibaka is, long, tall, long arms, all that stuff. So that's worthwhile to give it a look. But when it comes to, trying to stop a drive or trying to, guard Kevin Durant off of a dribble, obviously a pretty bad mismatch there too. So I think we're going to end up seeing Kawhi Leonard matched up with Draymond Green for the majority of this series. And they're going to take turns with Kevin Durant. But I do think it's important for them to just take their longest person and put him on Kevin Durant. I think as much as possible, you have to try to guard Kevin Durant with one person. The more you try to double team him, I think you're just signing up for instant death, basically, if you're the Raptors or anybody really. And the Raptors have a lot of big guys. At least it's not, a bunch of 6'5" guys trying to guard Kevin Durant. At least these guys are a bit taller and longer. I think the only real advantages that the Golden State Warriors have are going to be, Steph Curry and Clay, and then Kevin Durant when he comes back. And then we also have the whole DeMarcus Cousins issue. If DeMarcus Cousins comes back, then the whole, bigs advantage that the Raptors had going for them is out the window too. So I'll give Toronto a chance because I've seen Toronto beat the Warriors. Now I don't think they beat them with Curry. Well, no, they beat them twice this year. They beat them one time without even having Kawhi Leonard. But I just think it will be tough, man. In the finals, Toronto's never been there. The Warriors been in the finals the last 5 years straight. It's nothing to them. More importantly, at the end of games, I just think the Warriors just have a comfort if things are close, even though they usually blow teams out. But when things are close, they get a lot of easy baskets. Like in tie games, fourth quarter, minutes ago, they come down, they get a very, very easy basket. They run a very simple motion or action, and they get a very simple basket. Like we saw versus the Blazers, is the end of the game, right? The end of the game. The Blazers are struggling. They make a desperation. I think CJ McCollum does a dribble, step back, pull up, difficult shot over somebody, mid-range shot, makes it. The crowd goes wild. The Warriors just saunter down court and run some kind of screen for Draymond Green. He gets a cut to the basket, wide open layup, no pressure, and it's a tie game. It's a tie game. The Blazers are at home, It's the last minute of the game. The Blazers are at home, but they have a pressure-filled, possession that they have to work for, tooth and nailed, and then it ends up being a bad shot at the end of the shot clock that CJ McCollum hits, and the crowd goes wild, while the Warriors come down, score in 4 seconds. Easy action. Draymond Green cut to the basket. Steph Curry hits him with the pass. Layup. Wide open layup. That's a clutch shot. That's a crunch time shot for the Warriors. There's no pressure, man. And that's one thing that bothers me about watching the Warriors all the time, is because teams don't play with the same, level of relaxation that the Warriors play with. Even at the end of games, the Warriors are not pressed. And Toronto being there for the first time, I think that's going to be a big disadvantage. Now, Toronto as a team, Kawhi Leonard's been there and won it before. And then another thing I think Kawhi Leonard has going in his bag is, if you remember in 2017, the big bad Warriors, this is Kevin Durant Warriors too. This is prior to Kevin Durant. Western Conference Finals. The Spurs had just beaten the Rockets. Kawhi Leonard had missed the game 6. The Rockets still lost. Game 1, Kawhi Leonard comes back. His ankle is compromised, but he's still playing. And he's giving the Warriors all they can handle. He's beating the crap out of the Warriors. He's just leading the team. They're up 20 points going into, late in the third quarter, I believe. they're up 20 points before Zaza Pachulia hits him with that dirty, slide under your feet so you land and twist your ankle thing. That had him out basically all of last season. Well, it wasn't that. He had a thigh injury, but that ended his season for him. But remember how the Warriors were just looking around perplexed because they couldn't stop Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was just like cutting through their offense and doing whatever he wants because he has that mid-range game going. They can't guard him there. And then, if you get him on the perimeter, he could beat your man and get to the basket, score easily. They couldn't do anything with Kawhi Leonard, man. So, being that they had to injure him to get him out of that series so they could easily, beat the Spurs, is this vengeance for Kawhi? Does Kawhi know something about beating the Warriors that maybe the rest of the NBA doesn't know? Will we see it in Game 1 and Game 2 and possibly Game 3? That's the good thing about this. If Kawhi Leonard is a Warrior killer, we finally get to see it again because it's been a while. So, that being said, I think the Raptors have advantages. They're not as big advantages that the Warriors have. The Warriors just have the star power. They have Kevin Durant. When he comes back, it's going to be difficult to play against him. If he comes back, though, because I'm surprised. I know he's been resting. He didn't come back against the Portland Trailblazers because the series wasn't long enough. And he's not scheduled to come back in the first 2 games of this series. So I'm questioning, how healthy is he, what's going to happen. But we'll see. Ultimately, we'll see when he comes back. When he comes back, he's going to be a problem. Then you got the Steph Curry thing. Then you got DeMarcus Cousins, who will come back. It's quite a lot to contend with. But the Raptors know they have somebody in Kawhi Leonard who is experienced versus this version of the Warriors. And who has had success against this version of the Warriors. Because the game he played against them this year, I think he had Kevin Durant gets all the headlines because he had 51 points, but let's not forget the Raptors won, first of all, and Kawhi Leonard had 40. So, let's think about that as well. So they got Kawhi Leonard, they have a better bench, and then depending on when or not or how much DeMarcus Cousins plays, the Raptors have better bigs. A better rotation of bigs who they will, use throughout the course of the game. So that's 2 pretty big advantages, the bench and the bigs. And you got Kawhi Leonard. We'll see. Hopefully we get a win from the Raptors and we get to see a new champion this year. It'll be good for the country of Toronto, the city of Toronto, and the country of Canada, as far as their NBA presence goes. And I would love to see it. I would love to see anybody beat the Warriors. All right, let me know what you think, guys. Think down below in the comment section. All right, see you next time.